is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
Devin doing his job to keep those car sounds rolling on the show. LS swapped Volvo 240 wagon. He's sent in a number of car sounds over the years, in fact, and he's had a number of, LS swapped 240s now. So his latest one is a wagon. So, and it sounds great. It's fantastic. Send your car sounds into my show, facebook.com/automotive ADHD. Get them featured here on the show. Before the break, I was talking about K cars and how Oregon is now the most recent state to provide legislation to legalize them. Again, the bill still needs to be passed. And I bring that up even though this show happens in Colorado, because a lot of listeners on the podcast are actually in Oregon. So if you're on the podcast, if you're watching this online, you need to let your reps know that Senate Bill 1213 to legalize K cars should be a yes. Get that signed into law. Let your representatives know that they need to pass it. Let your governor know that he needs to sign it. So we need to make that happen. And we got 50 states. We got to go through one at a time, but we can do it. Unless we can get a federal mandate on this, which I think would be incredible, though right now I think it would be challenging just because of all the things going on federally. This would probably be on the federal level a very low priority as far as things go, but not impossible. Never say it's impossible. So, but I did want to touch on, before we talk about something that really bugs me, that a friend of mine brought up, in fact, and that is that, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It's something that's really dangerous. I see it on the roads almost once a day now, sometimes multiple times a day, but we'll get to that. But I did want to touch on Colorado's status with the K cars. We've covered it before in the past, and there was actually, for a brief moment of time, there was going to be a ban on it, and there was so much backlash to the state reps and everyone involved that they pulled back on it. They actually pulled back on it. And not only did they pull back on it after that, some state reps introduced a bill, and that bill passed, and then the governor signed it. And I don't want to, here's the thing with our governor here in Colorado. His name is Governor Polis. Of course, if you live here, you do know that. But for the benefit of my listeners on the podcast elsewhere, Governor Polis came out and signed it on May 9th, so not all that long ago. He did a video, actually. He did this social media campaign with it. Him signing the bill, there's K-trucks behind him, a cool, giant Colorado license plate that said K-Law. It was cool, right? And I appreciate it. Am I going to say I appreciate something from Governor Polis? I am, because that is a win in the automotive world. That is a win for us weird enthusiasts. And maybe even if you're not an enthusiast and you need something affordable, small, light on fuel, but with a good cargo capacity, you need it for your business to drive around town, do deliveries with. There are so many cool reasons to use a K-truck that aren't just in the automotive enthusiast space like I am. I get my head so far into that enthusiast space, I forget that there's people who just, drive their car to work. But even these could be really useful for a lot of people. But having said that, that law legally, actually, it goes into effect July 1st, 2027. So there is actually a bit of a buffer time between now and 2027. Now, what's the status on registering those vehicles? We shall see, because again, it's in a little bit of a legal gray area. They've said that they want to allow it now. Your mileage may vary if you go to the DMV and try to register your K-truck. The registration, they say officially, though, under the law, goes into effect, this hurts a little bit, January 1st, 2028. Yes, 3 years. Technically a little less than 3, but 3 years from now is when that law goes into effect. And again, the requirements for it are fairly similar to the Oregon one I talked about. Must be at least 25 years old. The vehicle should be 25 years old. And it's got to meet all the regular requirements. But our speed cap here in Colorado is a little bit lower. Can't be driven on roads over 55 miles per hour. So anyway, they also implemented a emissions testing requirement for them. They say that uses a static 2-speed idle test, which is standard for old classic vehicles, basically. And it must meet the original manufacturing year requirements. So there are some caveats to it. But I will say that, you know, I wouldn't let this lull you into believing that Governor Polis is pro-car guy, pro-car anything. Okay, for one, I really don't, because he has demonstrated. I praise him for signing this bill, though I do believe this bill is merely a diversion from many other things going on at the state capitol. But he has been very anti-car in the past. I don't know if you remember back when he signed a gas and transportation fee. You're listening on radio. You can't see my air quotes. Fee. It is a tax. He signed it into law. It was a bill creating a new fee structure. And he signed it into law. And by the way, this gas and transportation fee tax included a tax on actually gasoline, but it also included a tax on deliveries, things like Grubhub and Amazon and Uber Eats and FedEx. Like all this stuff got this little tax. And it's a small tax. But just because it's small doesn't mean that it's morally okay. The fact is that when he signed it to raise your gas prices, when he signed that, this was a few years ago, and we've all kind of forgotten about it. We haven't forgotten about it here, but when he did that, he was completely bypassing your rights as a citizen of the state under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which requires additional taxes to be voted on by the public. They completely bypassed this year. There was a bunch of pushback against it. Unfortunately, unsuccessful pushback, but there was a lot of pushback against it purely on the merits of it violating the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So, and bear in mind, he pushed that through. He also has only begun, there's some grammar, he has only begun to actually crack down on the state's automotive theft issue. Why? I want to know. Why has it taken so long for him to address this issue? Now he's coming out with some, new plans and policies and signing new legislation that's making it more challenging for thieves, to steal cars. It's upping the, penalties and the prosecution and all of that. Well, why are we doing that now? He's coming out now looking like the hero, like, look what we're doing to correct car theft. Yes, but he didn't just get sworn into office. He's been in office for years and years at this point. So why is he only now addressing the car theft? Why? Why is that? I really want to know. I really want to know. Because if you're not familiar, Colorado, up until this year, was the #1 state in the nation for car theft. We covered that heavily on this show. We even had a couple of years ago, a sheriff who's a sheriff specifically from Custer County, who is the head of the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority. Well, not the head, but he's the head law enforcement officer in this capacity. And he talked about that and how big of an issue it is. So why is the governor only now addressing that? Because all of the auto theft problems that have happened under his watch. So anyway, he gets to look like the good guy now, fixing the problem, even though arguably the problem happened under his watch and he did nothing for years. So anyway, I think it's a good step. I absolutely do. I think bringing K cars into legalization should be a 50-state thing. We need to advocate for that. And again, if you're like, I just care about muscle cars, man, why are we talking about these stupid little Japanese cars? It's because it's a moral thing too. Even if this is not a car that appeals to you, I think this is a moral thing. This is a thing that the government shouldn't be preventing us from doing this. It's a freedom and liberty thing, really. I should be able to go buy this little K car and drive it around. And I can buy a motorcycle, I can buy a moped, I can buy a lot of stuff that is technically a heck of a lot less safe, but oh no, these K trucks are too unsafe for the roadways. Give me a break. So anyway, coming up after the break, oh man, I'm fired up now. We got to talk about headlights. There's a problem with headlights. That's coming up right here. You're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. Maybe you're catching it on the radio. Maybe you're catching it as a podcast. We'll be right back in just a minute.